Hey everybody, Ringingworm here, bringing you another video review. This time we're going to review the 1/6 scale Robocop from the movie Robocop in the 1980s. So this is the MMS 203-D05, and I would assume that means the deluxe figure, because there are a couple different versions of this that you can get, a cheaper version and a more expensive version. I got the expensive version. If you don't want the chair that goes with it that you can see in the background, then that's a decision that you've got to make. But anyway, guys, we're gonna review this figure today. Gonna keep these coming. This is the only Hot Toys in my entire collection that is not DC related. But I've talked to you guys a lot about why I collect, and the main reason why I wanted to show you this figure today is because this is one of the items from my childhood that I really love to death. And I went kind of through a robot phase. You kind of seen that with the Transformers, but you know, Robocop was such a cool show, and I saw it when I was a kid. I mean, I was born in 1980, guys, so you can figure out how old I was when this movie came out. And I probably should never have seen it, I'll tell you honestly. And when this movie first came out, I remember my dad had it taped on a Betamax, video machine. You know, back in the 80s, you used to be able to take two VCRs and record one video from another, so effectively it was like burning a disc and whatnot. And people like my father did that on a regular basis. So I'm just, you know, letting you know. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what he did. And I remember watching this when I was a little kid. Now, I was born in 80, guys. I think this came out closer to 87, 88, something like that. And just to give you context, I was way too young to be watching this movie. But you know, for me as a kid, it wasn't so much about the language and the violence. It was about a man who was turned into a machine that pretty much kicked some serious butt. I remember when I started collecting Hot Toys, I started seeing these figures, and I decided I absolutely have to have this figure in my collection. And this was expensive, guys. I think this cost me $450, something like that. But it was worth every penny that I spent on it. So before we get too in-depth into this video, guys, I hope you're enjoying the content. I sure like a like on this video, comments definitely, and then ultimately I would love a share of this video with your friends, because every time you share this, it definitely goes a long way to help me out. Like I said in one of my other videos, guys, I'm not making any money off these videos. I'm just kind of sharing with you why I collect what I collect, and hopefully you get something out of that. So, guys, let's get into this. Let's get into the meat of this particular figure. So, in the 1980s, there was a lot of stuff surrounding capitalism and that type of stuff. Ronald Reagan was president, and the movie Robocop represented a capitalistic society where a corporation called OCP was in position to really take a person's life and create this machine. In one of the earlier scenes in Robocop, they show another machine, which is not a cyborg, called Ed 209, basically accidentally kill, if you want to say, one of the staff members in the OCP corporation. Kills him right then and there, and they continue business like it never even happened. And I think in the 80s that was kind of the mood or the feeling toward a lot of individuals with capitalism. I mean, you had the fuel crisis, so to speak. You had a lot of different circumstances that made it feel where capitalism was a bad thing. Like they're very unfeeling, and I can see where that came from. I'm a capitalist myself, so I don't necessarily agree with all the summaries of that movie, but I can see where they were. So effectively, you had this character, Alex Murphy, in the earlier part of the show. He's transferred from a different precinct or a better neighborhood into this Metro West or Metro South, I can't remember what it was, precinct. And literally, I guess you would say, on his first day on the job, he gets killed. So spoiler alert. And when he's killed in a very horrific way. The company OCP, which was contracted by the city to run the Detroit Police Department, they end up taking his body and creating this cyborg, which is known as Robocop. And as you can see, or I'll show you when I start moving around the figure a little bit, on the side of his helmet it says OCP Police 001, so kind of gives you that model 001. It also says it on his left thigh as well. So guys, this movie was just, they tried to remake it a few years ago. I'll put up a picture of the remake. The remake was horrible, and I'll tell you, this is one thing that frustrates me about Hollywood, is they like to do these remakes of classic movies like RoboCop. And some movies just shouldn't be remade, or at least if you're going to remake it, try to stick to what made the first movie great to begin with. And I'll give you an example. So in the original RoboCop, one of the opening scenes, you have a co-ed situation with male and female officers sharing the same locker room. You had a lot of language, of course, in the movie, and it was very, very graphic in a lot of ways. And it was kind of some campy humor. There were some fake commercials throughout the television or throughout the movie that kind of gave it this dystopian or dystopian view of the future. And the new one kind of tried to do that, but the thing about this particular RoboCop, so spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the new RoboCop, Alex Murphy is a cop. He has a partner. They're waiting for backup. He ends up getting killed because he gets ambushed, so to speak, by a whole bunch of the bad guys, and they just unleash bullets on him like crazy. They end up blowing off one of his arms. They shoot him so much, and it's very, very, very desperate. Fast forward to the new movie. The new movie, Detective Alex Murphy is investigating a crime boss, so to speak, and the crime boss ends up having him killed, and the way he gets killed is his car blows up, and you don't even really see it. So his car blows up. OCP does the same thing. They take the guy overseas to China, and they create RoboCop, and you just don't feel the desperation that you felt in the first movie. Just not a lot of that feeling and whatnot. But anyway, so he ends up getting killed, and then they show him going through the motions of programming and how much is the real man and how much is the non-real man. And they don't show quite as much about that in this particular RoboCop that you're looking at in front of you. They don't quite show that as much, and I feel like that is the reason why it makes it so good. Instead of talking about his humanity trying to break through the system, it shows it, and I'll give you an example. So in the movie, he is a hardcore cyborg up until one point, and that's where the chair comes into it, and I think that plays a very, very pivotal part. And I'll bring the chair a little bit closer to the screen in a moment so you can see all of it. And I'll put up a picture of it too so you can kind of see it on the screen as well. So in the movie, RoboCop is sitting in the chair, basically recharging, if you will, and he starts having a dream. And at the end of the dream, during the dream, he relives his death, so to speak, at the hands of Clarence Boddicker. And he ends up waking up, and without authorization, he goes out and he tries to solve his own murder. And that's kind of the midpoint of the movie, and that's what makes the movie, like, you kind of see him not knowing why he's doing this, but he's doing this, and he's really feeling that there's something in his mind that's telling him that he's human, but he can't figure it out. Whereas in the new version of RoboCop, they just tell him that. And I really didn't like that in the movie, the new movie. The old movie definitely did it better. Eventually, he figures out that Clarence Boddicker is the one that killed him. He goes and finds him. He expresses that the president of Omni Consumer Products, or OCP, is the one that is responsible for Clarence Boddicker being free. So in other words, he's aided him in cop killing. He tries to arrest him, and then he ends up getting, for lack of a better word, blown to hell by Ed 209 and the Detroit Police Department. So the end of the movie is them trying to kill him, and the very, very end of the movie, he gets quote unquote revenge by killing the president of OCP, and that's what made it great. And I just don't, because it was PG-13, the new movie, I just don't feel like you got the desperation that you got from the original movie. The original movie, his partner is a woman, and I thought that they took away from that by making his partner a male. In the new movie, he solves his murder way too easy in the new movie. You just don't feel like there's any desperation, like he's ever in any jeopardy. And then they just shut him off with a push of a button, and I didn't like that at all. So the original movie, I definitely feel is best. If you're going to remake a movie like RoboCop, you got to stick to the elements. You've got to make it feel real. And I just don't feel like the new RoboCop was that way. I like this original costume, and they did show that in the new movie. They give kind of a similar costume to him, and at the end he does don that armor again. I shouldn't say costume, that armor again, but they make him black and they try to update it, and it's just not well done. And the one thing I absolutely hated in the new movie, and I don't know if there's a book out there that RoboCop's based on. I don't really care because I like the movie. But they have his one hand exposed, like it's a real human being hand. I thought that was stupid. In the original, they talk about them keeping that hand or that arm, and he's like, no, we want a total prosthesis, lose the arm. And really, it's just his parts of his torso and his face and his brain that are real. Everything else is machine on RoboCop in the original movie. So let's talk about this figure from Hot Toys. Now, I talked about it earlier. You cannot get this on Sideshow Collectibles right now, so you'll have to go to BigBadToyStore.com or another third-party dealer or eBay or whatever. I got this, I think, from eBay, but you might be able to get it from a different source. So this is the Hot Toys. I want to show you guys the box, but I really just... I've told you guys before, if you want to see some of these things, go look at somebody else's review. This is more about my love of the character than it is the figure, but I am going to show you what he comes with. So he comes with the weapon you see in his hand. He comes with different hands. He comes with closed fist hands, which I don't know why you would pose him in that, because he really doesn't close his fist that much in the movie. I watched it. He comes with his digital spike, if you will, and it is very sharp, guys, on the tip. So be careful with that. It's not metal, but it feels very, very sturdy. And then he comes with different faces. I love this, by the way, guys. He comes with this, and even though these aren't his real heads, it kind of gives you an idea. So he's got different heads that you can pose him in different positions with. And I just dumped the faces all over the floor. Excuse me, not all over the floor, but all over my desk area. And then he comes with the chair that you see with this particular model. He comes with the chair that you can see in the background. And he comes with these two other items, which I just think I love to death. And I wish I could display them with them, but I don't have Ed 209. And I don't really want to spend the money on Ed 209. But they come with this battle damage version of his chest piece. And they come with his battle damage part of his face. Now, the one thing, I don't know if you can see this, but in this area right here, yeah, see, you just can't see it. If you were in the room, you could see his eyeball in that spot. So I thought that was great. Now, a couple things I want to talk about. If you're thinking about not getting this, because just his chest piece is battle damaged and just his face is battle damaged, first of all, they sell a battle damage version of this Robocop, and I'll try to get a picture of that so you guys can see it. But if you don't see it, you know, so be it. But you can go to a different, like Optobotomus does a good review. I think D Knight does too. You can see the different versions of Robocop. But like I was saying, now I watched the movie after this because I heard the commentary, and it was bothering some of the other reviewers that his battle damage does not include his arms or his legs or this area. And guys, I rewatched the video with his fight with Ed 209, and up until he gets shot by the Detroit Police Department, he doesn't have any other battle damage. I looked at that video in slow motion in a few places. His legs and even the part where he stops in front of the cops, he has no battle damage on him whatsoever except for his chest and his face. So the battle damage that he occurs, most of that it comes from the Detroit Police Department, not from his battle with Ed 209. So if you were to get Ed 209 and you were to get this particular figure, I don't feel personally like it would be that detrimental not to have all that other battle damage. So I'll give you guys just a better look really quick. I mean, just look at the battle damage. Just the detail is just amazing. This is not metal, it is plastic, but it does look like metal. He does have quite a bit of die cast on him, and I'll show you, and he's very, very heavy. So that's his other helmet. You can see it up close. Maybe if the camera will... You can see the bullet holes all the way down to his faceplate, and I just think that's awesome. Now, his chest piece comes off very easily. He's got a speaker underneath. The only thing that I'm going to show you guys really quick is he comes with this tool, and this is basically a magnet. It's got OCP on the front of it, and if you turn him around and you put it right in this area here somewhere, his back piece comes off, and he's got batteries inside his armor. Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. So when you turn him on like that, he says that words, and he's got a few phrases that he says. Oop, almost dropped him there. Like I said, he's very, very heavy. So be careful with him, because I've dropped him a couple times. Anyway, he comes with that, and then he comes with this little nameplate, which I love. And then if you push it, stay out of trouble, you can hear him talking. Oh, I forgot, he does come with a couple other things, and I'll show that here in a second.
Drop the gun, you are under arrest. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Come quietly or there will be trouble. Thank you for your cooperation. Good night. Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
So one thing I love about Hot Toys and what they include in their figures. So I showed you the pistol from Catwoman, and this one's no different. So he's got a clip in it. This one, he does have a bullet in it, but it's not quite as brass colored as the other one. And then this, I can't remember what the name of this particular gun is, but it does rifle back just like the Catwoman's 9mm or whatever it is does. So I thought that was pretty cool too. Now he does come with another weapon, and let's see if I can get this open without too much trouble. So on mine, his leg is very, very stiff. So this comes out, and he's got this weapon here. Now this weapon here, my goodness, he is heavy. He's heavy, guys. Now this weapon here is stainless, is die cast. It's all metal, it's very heavy. It does not do any of the things that the other one did. And this one really is just for display in his holster. It's not, the instructions tell you that. So his leg does come off. Excuse me, I'm going to try to show you better here. If I can get it to cooperate, because it's the forward motion on mine is very, very stiff. So you can see it comes out, and then this piece does slide forward. It's not, I wish it was on a spring or something, but it does come forward, as you can see, and then it closes. So you can pose him. And again, if you want to see great poses with this particular figure, go see D Knight's YouTube channel, and he's got some absolutely amazing poses with Robocop that you'll just love. Again, mine's not so much about the figure as it is about my love of the figure. Now, this is die cast right here, die cast. These are metal. I don't know if his feet are. Just there's die cast in his elbows, or excuse me, his biceps there, etc. One thing I love about this, and some people don't love it, and again, it just comes down to personal preference, is his hands are articulated like all 100%. And a lot of people don't like it because they say that they have a hard time getting him to hold his gun. I don't actually have a problem with him holding his gun. If you just slide it in there, you put his finger in the trigger well, close his thumb and his hand, and you do have to fiddle with it a little bit, but it really isn't. I mean, that took me all of a couple seconds, guys. I mean, it's not too difficult. Both hands do that. He's got great articulation in his legs and whatever. The only thing I don't like, and you can see these little, I guess you could call them cylinders or pistons or whatever, and it's because, you know, they have it to where he can open his arms out a little bit wider. I don't necessarily like that because it doesn't look natural, but it's fine. And his legs do the same thing. They kind of detach from his waist. Now his torso here he can bend at this torso, and you can see that I have a big gap, but you can close that gap to where it's just solid. But I have him standing pretty much the way I want him to stand, so I'm not going to fiddle with him too much. So that's basically Robocop, guys. He looks amazing. I'm sure some of you guys, or all of you guys, would agree that he looks amazing. And then the last thing that he comes with, and I wish, this is one thing I don't like, is I wish this came with a power cord that you could plug in and leave it plugged in, because this also takes batteries. And I got to remember how to turn it on. Hang on a second. I don't remember how. Oh, there it is. Okay, so put this back down, move this back into place. All right, guys, so if you look at this, and I just want to make sure you guys can see it, if I can find the on button again. All right. The lights on the chair do light up, and I like that. And it does have some articulation. This moves around. You can do that different poses. I just basically have it in the way that I feel like it should be based on the television show. And he can sit on this. I don't have him in that pose, but you guys can certainly do that. Just kind of show you some of the details to it. It's got some nice scuffing and whatnot to make it look real. This thing is very heavy too, guys. If you push this little button right here, this will detach. And somebody was saying on an earlier video, I don't understand why they did that. And I know why they did that, because in an earlier version, this piece right here, you can see them wheeling this around without the chair on it. And that might have been another piece of equipment, but I did see that in the movie, and I think that's why they did that. So it gives you, if you wanted to take the chair off and just display them with the monitor there, you could do that theoretically, and it would fit the scene okay, because he does do that in the movie. So guys, anyway, this is my 1/6 scale version of Robocop. If you're a Robocop fan from the 1980s, guys, I highly recommend you pick up this figure. He is absolutely worth every single penny. I think he's absolutely amazing. I'll just show you the side of his helmet really quick because I told you I would. But it says right there on the side, OCP Police 1001, like I said. And that is why, I mean, he's a cyborg. He's the first generation. He does come with a book of instructions, guys. This is one of those characters that you do want to read with this figure because he is very heavy. And there are, I haven't broken anything on him, but I did knock off one of his fingertips on accident, like I did with the Optimus Prime figure. And when I knocked it off, I had a hard time finding that, but I literally scoured because I spent so much time, or I spent so much money on the figure. So, guys, 1/6 scale Robocop from Hot Toys, MMS 203-D05 with the mechanical chair, the docking station. Fantastic figure, guys. Pick that figure up today if you're into Robocop. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe because that's what I need more than anything else. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.